Welcome to our continuing investigation of the conflict between Rome and Carthage. This video outlines the developments in the conflict between these two great powers after the Battle of Cannae in 216 BCE. Just imagine two great armies clashing on this open plain. The noise of metal on metal, the shouts of men giving orders, encouraging their comrades to fight on, the groans of the wounded, and finally the silence as Hannibal views what's left of the Roman army. What were the Romans to do after such a devastating loss? Let's remind ourselves of the strategies the Romans had attempted up to this point. After abandoning their initial strategy of avoiding direct contact with Hannibal and wearing him down, strategy 2, and discovering that strategy 1, taking him head-on, was disastrous, the Romans had to change strategies again. So what were the Romans going to do now? Would you believe it? They reverted to strategy 2, again. They decided to avoid further major battles and hope Hannibal would wear himself out or his troops would desert him. After all, they were mercenaries, men who were paid to fight, not men who were fighting for a cause. Hannibal had lost men during the Battle of Cannae, and his army was exhausted from their long journey across the Alps and their fierce battles. Instead of attacking Rome itself, which he knew he was not in position to conquer, Hannibal took his troops to Capua to rest and regain their strength. His strategy was to win over Rome's allies in southern Italy, but the Romans were able to form another army, which they used to harass him and keep him off guard. Any communities that supported Hannibal were severely punished by Rome. Hannibal spent the next 13 years in Italy, unable to win over enough of Rome's allies to make a difference, in spite of traversing southern Italy as this map indicates. His brother Hasdrubal had tried to bring a relief army to him, but the Romans intercepted them, and Hasdrubal was killed. In 211 BCE, while several Roman armies were trying to keep control of their allied communities in southern Italy, Hannibal even approached Rome itself. Appian describes the despair and shock in Rome when the news of Hannibal's arrival reached the city. While he wrote some 400 years after the event, Appian refers to sources he used, such as Polybius, a contemporary of the event. He describes how Hannibal appeared outside Rome and how the inhabitants were thrown into utter confusion. The defense of the city was left to old men, women, and children. It is probably not surprising that Appian describes Hannibal as a general of invincible bravery and good fortune, because Appian was not a Roman, but a Greek who came from northern Africa, Alexandria in Egypt. Rome realized it could not leave Hannibal to roam at will throughout Italy indefinitely, so the Romans changed their strategy and now opted for strategy 3, a direct attack on Carthage. First, they attacked Carthage's territories in Spain, eventually driving the Carthaginians out in 206 BCE, following a crucial battle at Ilpia. This army was led by the Roman general Publius Cornelius Scipio. He was determined to end the war quickly, so he took his army to North Africa to directly confront the Carthaginians. Carthage responded by recalling Hannibal's army back to Africa to repel Scipio. Not long after, the final major battle between Rome and Carthage occurred in 202 BCE at Zama in North Africa. The Battle of Zama, like the Battle of Cannae, has been written about and depicted in many different ways. At Zama, however, it was the Romans who were victorious. The Roman general Scipio was able to turn the tables on Hannibal and win a resounding victory. This 16th century painting might suggest the battle was a chaotic tangle of elephants, horses, and men, but it was carefully planned and executed by the Roman general Scipio. Scipio proved a shrewd and able general, and he neutralized the effect of Hannibal's elephants by turning them back into the ranks of the Carthaginians themselves. Some 20,000 of Hannibal's army were killed. Hannibal himself survived, but the Romans, ever fearful of just what he was capable of, handed him out of Carthage into exile and eventual death. When the conflict between Rome and Carthage first began in the middle of the 3rd century BCE, Carthage controlled most of the coastlines of North Africa and southern Spain, most of Sicily, and various islands in the western Mediterranean. After Rome's victory in the first stage of its conflict with Carthage, Carthage lost Sicily and later Sardinia and Corsica, but it made up for this by expanding its territory in Spain. The change in Roman strategy to attack Spain and directly confront Carthage at Zama left Carthage at Rome's mercy. A major consequence of the Zama victory was the expansion of Rome's areas of control, indicated in red, to include the former territories of Carthage, including its possessions in Spain and North Africa. The only territory left to Carthage was Carthage itself, and a relatively small area surrounding it, seen in purple on the map.